This particular video, I will explain reversionary rights. Actually, when you look at the return of Hong Kong, that is reversionary right, meaning before 1997, Hong Kong was leased to Great Britain, and by 1st July 1997, China then exercised the reversionary right. So that's the biggest example of reversionary rights. But now we want to look at smaller situations involving real estate owners. So now the reversionary right is closely related to tenancies and long leases. Now, end of a tenancy or a long lease, such as I just mentioned Hong Kong, 140-year lease, the ownership of the property then goes back or revert to the original owner. Now, the original owner may be a freeholder. Now, in the case of a tenancy, you can be a leasehold owner. So you rent out 3 years. After 3 years, you take it back. So when you take it back, that is called reversion. Reversion. Now, in the interim, the original owner holds the reversionary rights. Now, the following landowners or property owners enjoy the right. The biggest example will be the state. That's why I start this video by talking about Hong Kong, because it's involved England and China. So at the state level. So into this video, our context will be landowner, private landowner, and the state. So I got newspaper cutting to prove to you. 2 is freehold owners, and then 3 is landlords of yearly tenancies. Because leases will be either by the freehold owner. Later we will use the shore residences as an example, and then the state. Then I have a newspaper cutting to show you. Then the 4th will be grantor of live estate. So which need a little bit of explanation. Now let's start with the state. Government land sale program, whereby state leases of 99 years, sometimes it's 30 years for industrial land site. So you have like also 60 years. Now, so all these are land introduced by URA or any approved government agencies acting as an agent in the government land sale program. So whoever tender for the land, now once the land is sold to them, they will have the full term 99-year or 60-year or 30-year for them to develop the land and use it. Sometimes they develop and then they sell. So end of that leasehold tenure, then the land will then go back to the state, lock, stock, and barrel without any compensation. So for whatever benefits you would have enjoyed during the tenure. Now let me show you a newspaper cutting. This altogether 191 houses. They were on 60-year lease. So 1960, now it's 2020. So they will have to return their houses back to SLA, lock, stock, and barrel. There will be no compensation. So this is a reversion that we see in our lifetime. Because 60-year lease is not really very short. So now we begin to see, expiry of state leases. Freehold owner can also grant privately long leases. So I just mentioned earlier, the shore residences at Katong. The land is actually fee simple. So developer acquire the land in a en bloc purchase. Then they split it into 2 parcels. One is called the sound, the other one is called the shore. So do they sell freehold? No. They actually grant a 103-year lease. So when the building is completed, when the house owner took the key to the condo, just nice, 99 years, 99 years leasehold. So meaning, let's say there's no en bloc, which is unlikely because about 50 over years, I think the original developer will say, come, sell back to me, and then they will take it back, and then they will redevelop all over again. Okay, but let's, for argument's sake, let's say there's no en bloc. Everybody lives there for 99 years. So end of 99 years, now the land will then go back to the freehold owners. In this case, of course, the developer who also owned the land. Now you have 30-year lease, such as this is also private lease. Ministry of National Development actually leased the entire office component in GEM, Jurong East Mall, for 30 years. So this is privately done. Now, end of the lease, then the rights, the property rights, the land rights, all will then go back to the original landowner. Now, in this case, of course, GEM is also a 99-year leasehold. So privately, you can arrange this way because it's just leases only, leases. Now, landlords of yearly tenancies, 1 year, 2 year, 3 year, of course, you can be up to 7 year. So 7 years will be the longest tenancy. So there are people who ask me, what about 5 plus 5 is 10 already? I said, no. 5 plus 5 is still a 5-year lease. The plus 5 is an option for you to renew the lease for another term of 5 years, because you may not, the tenant may not want to exercise it. So end of tenancy, whether it's a 7-year tenancy or 5-year tenancy, or whether 3-year tenancy, the property rights then revert to the landlord. Now, landlord can be holding a freehold interest, can be holding leasehold interest. It doesn't matter because this is tenancy. Okay, so now, grantors of live estates needs a bit of explanation. Now, usually this will happen when there is a testate succession. Testate succession means property passed down through the operation of a will. That means the original owner passes on, and then there's a will that says that, okay, I want my property to go to my children. Now, some property owners, they leave behind a bizarre will. They say, I want my property to go to the third generation. And then I want the third generation to grant the second generation a live estate. That means the grandfather may be thinking that then I don't shortchange the second generation. You get to enjoy my property for your lifetime. And after you die, then the rights, the freehold rights, then go to the next generation, and that's it. And that's it. So in this case, you have a live estate with reversionary interest. Now, in some other videos, I talk about live estate with remainder. That means you get passed down. But there are families, they don't believe in this, because sometimes when you pass down the property to the second generation, and then you just grant a live estate, and then you expect the second generation to pass down to the third generation and fourth generation and all that, then you jolly well be very rich. That means your wealth will never be depleted. Because sometimes when the property is passed down to the second generation, then the second generation don't do well already. Then they can't maintain the property. Then third generation also don't do well. They can't maintain the property. And then the property will be in ruin. Then instead of a fortune, it becomes a curse. Now, so that's why some of the landowners, they are more progressive in thinking. They say, okay, never mind. I'll be very happy if the property is passed to the third generation, and then I want the third generation to grant a live estate to the second generation. Now, let me read out these slides for you. The beneficiary of a freehold right instructed, received the instruction in the will to grant live estate to the older relative, whether it's your uncle or auntie. So the right will revert back to the freeholder when the older beneficiary dies. So let me give you a bit of illustration. Say, for example, grandfather passed away in year 2000. Now, instead of passing the property directly to the son, now he said, no, let me pass to the third generation. So you see, the boy here, now he has the freehold interest. But what is the instruction of the will? The instruction of the will is, now you give your uncle the life estate. Let he live in this property until he dies, because you're still very young. So now you look at the uncle there, Now, the uncle there, the title is leasehold. All right, leasehold, life estate. That means for the duration of your life. So when the uncle dies, the second generation son dies, then the black arrow point back to the third generation. So the third generation now will take over the property. Now, so while the uncle enjoy the full possession of the property, now the third generation, their name is still in the title, in the front page. This is proprietor. Then the uncle's name is at the last page, called lessee. So when you do a title search, you will discover this kind of a relationship. So you will know that there is a reversioner in waiting. So now I hope you have the concept here. Now, so other related topics will be freehold versus leasehold, leasing versus license, reversioner with remainder. The story you just heard is reversioner versus remainder. The story you just heard is life estate with remainder. So now I seriously hope that that will clarify some of the doubts for you, right? So I hope also you enjoy the explanation.